if you were here earlier, I am back. The documentary I was watching got pinged. I did not realize the BBC was going to ping me live. You know, I never know what's going to strike a live stream down. So I got word in the middle of watching it that the live stream was taken down. So what I will suggest to you is, if you would like to watch the documentary, it is called Clothes to Die For. And the way I was watching it was free. Let me put this in the chat. This is the link. It's on dailymotion.com. So I think that if you just type in BBC Clothes to Die For, I think the Daily Motion link will pop up. So I was literally in the middle of watching it, but that's okay. We can go to Hi Neba. I will go into the lecture that we're doing. We're talking about gender and colonialism and homophobia, and European colonialism and its legacies. Those are the chapters. They're really short. I mean, all the lectures are pretty short. So hopefully you are doing okay today, Neba. It's good to see you. I'm a little bit under the weather, been having a lot of issues with health crap and, you know, Percy stress. And I'm starting to realize that I think I'm just going to have to get used to this new way of life with Percy. Him not knowing which litter box to use or my bed. I have to probably buy extra pee blankets because he peed on the blanket earlier and then went poop in the litter robot and then went back onto the bed. And I was like, oh, no. The thing is in the wash. You can't be up here now. So he attacked me because I was trying to pull him off the bed while he was trying to pee, and he did pee beside the bed, but cleaned it up. He's only 3. Like, he has a lot of issues. A lot of it is psychological, like literally psychological. At this point, it's feels futile to reason with this cat because he's clearly not a normal cat, nor will he ever be a normal cat. So, and now we're having issues with getting medicine into him. So that's been fun. Yeah. I mean, Neba, there's lots of updates on the channel about Percy ever since he got into the emergency situation that he's been in, because he has bladder stones, and yeah, so we recently switched. We went in that was last week and then switched some things around because he was peeing blood, which means I think a stone passed. But he's stable right now, even though he's like not wanting to touch the medicine. None of the tricks that we normally use are working. I mean, he's been like this since day one. Things go up, things go down, things stay stable for a while, then one wrong thing happens and we backslide. So it's definitely just going to be an ongoing situation. As much as I don't feel like I could handle another cat that had a lot of medical issues and or psychological issues, that is the situation I'm in, and I'm trying my hardest not to give up, because it's a very difficult thing to go through when you're not working even with a feral cat. Feral cat would be easier to work with than this cat, because a feral cat typically probably had its weaning properly and learned cat behaviors, just, is scared, and you can usually work with them. This cat, I'm pretty sure, was weaned way too early because he doesn't have any of the normal cat behaviors, like covering your stuff in your litter. Like, he can't communicate properly. I mean, he's only 3, so it's gonna be a long next decade, I guess. I'm just assuming 13 is the magic number because it has seemed to be the magic number in the last 2 cats. So yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that his psychological issues get better, and maybe there is some underlying issue that we still haven't found yet. But physically, the doctors cannot figure out why he keeps getting himself constipated, why he's holding his urine in the first place. Like I said, we've tried all the typical things that you do try with a normal cat when there are changes, when you need more than 1 litter, but all that kind of stuff. So we've done all of it. And now my normal cat is laying on the disposable pee pads that I have on the bed. So, yeah. And Mr. Percival is under the bed, I think, sulking like usual, being by himself. But he did play a little today, so that was a win. He felt good enough to chase his sister around and play a little, and he came out of his shell. But unfortunately, the relationship between me and him isn't that great because he's been in pain and he's associating me with all that pain still, I think, and just doesn't trust me at all. Occasionally he's a sweetheart still and wants affection, but Daddy is the affection giver. So it's like he has a separate cue for both of us. Like, I am big cat that plays and occasionally, or most of the time, frightens the frick out of him for some reason. I just walk by him and he will hiss at me. Not even perceiving the cat, he will hiss at me. Depends on his stability and where he's at in the day. But he goes for affection elsewhere. Headbutts, will do that typical thing. He's learned to communicate that way, but his communication style in general is just not good. And he has tried, I think, to cuddle with Scout, but he'll like get up on top of her and like just stand there and be like, what do I do now? Do I bite? No, that was the wrong way. Okay, cool. So he is gentle with her because he knows that he's bigger. So he tries to be as sweet as possible. And I don't know. I do love him. I love all animals. I want to provide a stable, happy, healthy home. And I'm doing my best. And with that, let's listen to some lecture. Yeah, I gotta find a way to curb the sensitivity I have with the cat because some days it really gets to me and I cannot handle the fight with him, and it makes me feel really bad that he thinks that I'm going to hurt him or something, and I know that I'm not going to. So it does get to me. It's heartbreaking. I don't like to see him like this. I don't like to see any animal like this. It's so frightening to see an animal like just not trust you whatsoever. And yeah, I guess frightening is, I mean, it is frightening, but more, I guess the right word is anxiety inducing, crying inducing. I don't like it. I try not to get mad at him. Again, I did yell at him earlier, so that probably didn't set well with him. But I was like, no, please, not on the bed. I don't have a thing up there. So it did scare him, and then that's why he attacked me. And he's just been hiding ever since. He did take one treat for me, so that's a plus. All right, let's get this up. Present. But and I thank everybody who has helped and checked in on Percy and stuff. All right.
At the start of this course, when we focused on intersectionality, I talked about the history of feminism, which many scholars and activists divide into waves. The first wave of feminism emphasized women's suffrage, or the right to vote. The second wave sought to expand women's participation beyond voting and centered on issues like improving women's access to higher education and professional careers. The second wave also drew attention to the ways the family is a source of women's oppression and worked to change laws and attitudes about divorce, domestic violence, and reproductive rights. The third wave pointed to the diversity of women's experiences and addressed the intersectional oppressions women face. It was during the third wave that transnational or global feminism emerged as a focal point.
Why didn't that make me
Global
bigger?
feminism has its origins in the global South, or the non-Western world. By the early 1990s, a growing number of feminists in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the South Pacific argued that feminism had been defined by the interests of Western women and reflected the prejudices and aspirations of the global North. You can see the geopolitical divide between the global South and the global North in this map. The global South is identified in red and refers to lower income countries located in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the South Pacific. The global North is identified in blue and refers to higher income countries in Europe, as well as the US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. The divide between the global North and the global South has been constructed over centuries through social systems of domination and exploitation, such as imperialism, colonialism, global capitalism, white supremacy, and militarism. Through global feminism, feminists from the global South illuminated the ways patriarchy intersects with these other social systems. The era of European colonialism or colonization began in the 15th century. Colonialism refers to the policy of a country seeking to expand or maintain its authority over other people or territories, generally with the goal of economic domination. In the process of colonization, colonizers may impose their religion, language, economics, and other cultural practices on indigenous peoples. Europeans, in their quest for wealth in Asia, brought the entire world under a system of colonial domination. In this map, you can see all the countries that have been under European control. European colonialism started with the Americas and eventually extended to most of Asia, Africa, and the South Pacific. The project of European colonialism was tied to the development of capitalism. European governments, both monarchies and republics, often lacked the power and resources to carry out the colonial project on their own, and turned to private companies to help fund colonial ventures. Private investors put money into a company to pay for the costs of colonization, the ships, the crew, the guns, the machinery, and other supplies, hoping that over time, the colony would generate profits for both investors and governments through the discovery and extraction of precious metals and gems, as well as the production of raw materials like sugar, cotton, and tobacco, which relied on the exploitation.
I hate to pause this, but something is happening on MD Media's stream. I see Solomon.
Can't do it on this.
What is happening, guys?
I don't know. Who's leaving, Lenny? Well, the car's right here, though. For a second, I thought we were getting swatted. I know. They're saying the dad and the girl are leaving.
Oh, is it like nothing? I wonder what happened. I was just a little like concerned for a moment.
Right now. Yeah, but that's the car.
Kelly got it.
Anywhere.
Laura. I think Kelly. It says Kelly got them on her live.
That's a big waste of resources. They don't need a big truck. I'm not putting the cameras on Scotty.
Okay, Janelle.
No
Thank you, Janelle Art, for telling me that you did explain it up above. Something happening with DOA. PD, a pair of minors ran from Blue, being pursued by Scientology security. The minors sought help and the police were summoned. One minor female and parent are now at Northeast Station.
So, yeah.
Oh,
shit. They're letting the dad leave with the girl.
No.
Hi, Jessica.
I really hope that Laura is like helping somehow. Because she is she's in it. Fuck. DOA is having trouble breathing, I see on here. I didn't see what that just said. Oh my gosh.
I know, but they don't really need the big hook and ladder one, though, Scooter Mom. It's funny, the big hook and ladder one? That's excessive. That's a paramedic as well. Unless the paramedic, you're right, might be on that one.
Okay, DOA called ambulance. I'll have to check in on this later. I should really get back to doing my homework. Wow.
What the fuck? It's a medical emergency, not a police emergency.
Okay. Looks like a bunch happened.
These douchebags
Dang.
laughing.
Why would you laugh at that, sir? What the hell? What? Jesus. Why are people so insane?
I'm putting him on screen. Who is it, Darth?
I wonder if Laura's going to go with him. Or if they would even allow her to go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 officers.
Panic attacks are freaking scary to have. If you've never had one, it feels like you're dying. Yeah, 6 cops. No one helps a child. Awesome.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Wow. Wow. Well, everybody who's in my chat, go follow Indie Media if you want to keep up with protest streams.
Why'd they call you guys for backup? Sir, officer. Why'd they call you for backup? Oh, you just showed up? Can I get a serial number? I know you're in front of the station. Can I get a serial number, please? Yours, officer? What's that? 45140. 45140. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go back to doing what I was
Who's
doing.
restraining me?
That's so sad. Oh, what? I will take that out. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was me. Yeah. MD Media. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I definitely like when, yeah. Thank you, MD Media, if you see this. I'm not trying to like take anybody's stuff. I just, oh, sorry, Miss Sunrise Dawn. That was MD Media. I said it. It was MD Media because I got scared. I saw it pop up when I like looked over to the side. I was like, what is happening? So, oh, don't copyright strike me, MD Media. I'm so sorry. Yeah. No, MD and I are cool. I'm gonna get back to doing what I was doing. I just wanted to check in and make sure everybody was okay. I was worried for a moment. But yeah, no copyright strikes, please. I love you. I love you. Yeah, wow, okay. Just I'll have to go back and look and see what actually happened. But I wanted to make sure that everybody was safe enough. And I hate when I look over and I see like a stream have like uh uh a whole lot of cops in a situation. Oh, makes my heart jump. I hate it. I hate it. Gotta do my EMDR. Do my taps. Keep that stress level down. Yes, thank you, Miss Sunrise Dawn. Yes, I was about to go grab that because I'm going to put it in the description too. Or I can just take it out. Like when my video is over and done processing, I can always like go in and take out that chunk. I just, since I was already live, I was like, I was worried, so I checked. But thank you for putting that in, Miss Sunrise Dawn. You're a saint for me. Yeah, I hope DOA is okay. I hope those children are okay. I hope everybody's okay because that's insane. So yes, definitely give MD Media a follow. He's been a streamer, protester that I've been following for a long time, and he's really cool. I like him a lot, or at least from what I know of him in our interactions. I'll have to like message him and be like, yes, I was streams. I did say in the chat it was me. Like, no, I mean, yeah, none of us are perfect, but yes, you're a saint for putting that in for me, so I didn't have to go scramble and grab it. But again, I just was a little bit worried, and yeah, I'm gonna get back to doing the lecture, and then is someone calling me or someone texting me? What's happening? No, nothing. Okay, cool. And then yeah, if MD wants me to take that little part out, I'm probably going to anyway because this is supposed to be a lecture video. Let's get back to the lecture. Love you all. Please stay safe out there, guys. Please keep your bodies and your minds as safe as possible.
And labor through slavery.
Also, Miss Sunrise Donna, I hope you're doing well. I know we haven't talked in a bit. Lots of stuff and stress and all of that's been going on. I know. But I hope that things are starting to calm down in your world, because I know you were going through something pretty heavy. And also, I hope the other things that you talked to us about are getting dealt with and things are getting better. I'm always here if you need an ear. I'm sure everybody in that in our chats are very happy to be an ear if you need it. That's what we're there for.
Indenture, and low wages.
Oh my gosh.
For example,
okay. I'm never going to get back to the lecture because another one of my faves just popped in. And thank you so much, Tampa B-Man, for, talking to me over the next year in chats and finally getting to put a face to the name, because you know what I look like, but I'd never seen you before. So that was a nice little treat. And I feel bad that in the middle of everything, nope, my computer decided to just stop working. And then when I came back, you guys had already left. And I was like, no. But it was getting late. So, and I had a little bit of a headache. So it was probably good for me to end where I did anyway. We have to never stop meeting like this. But yeah. Make sure that whoever's protest or stream you go into, you give them lots of love, because that's hard to do out there. And to be in such heavy advocacy work and seeing that firsthand. I mean, we see it firsthand on the streams, but it's very different than being there in person. I don't know if I could handle as much as everybody has handled throughout this whole process, because I definitely know where my strengths and my weaknesses lie, and I gotta be on top of those things and keep them in check so I can continue to do my work effectively. So if I'm not good, it's hard for me to make other people feel good.
British colonization of South Asia, which includes the present-day countries of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, originated with the East India Company. The company was founded in London in 1599 as a trading firm and was authorized by its charter to wage war. It mobilized its own army and lobbied the British government for policies in its favor. Over 3.5 centuries, the East India Company used both force and money to bring local rulers in the Indian subcontinent under British control. It dominated South Asia for 100 years until 1858, when its colonial holdings came under direct control of the British Crown. Many historians see the East India Company as a template for the modern multinational corporation. Gender was central to the project of European colonialism. In South Asia, the British depicted Hindu men as weak and incompetent, especially compared to their Muslim counterparts. This played into the colonizers' divide and rule strategy to destroy whatever solidarity existed among various indigenous groups and manipulate local conflicts to consolidate colonial rule.
Oh, you were a hot mess. It's okay. No, you weren't. It was great.
Played a key role in introducing English education.
Also, I'd like to talk to you more about, the Southern Baptist Convention crap, because that's very interesting that you knew about the book for the women for that. So, because we didn't have that one, because that's not the dynamic that my grandparents had. Like I said, last night, we were a very different type of Southern Baptist or religious family, because she kind of just pick and chose what to focus on. And you know. So I thank her for both of them, you know, for at least not sheltering me too much, even though my grandmother was very strict. There was not a whole lot of like coddling, sheltering, or anything like that. Well, definitely no coddling. I don't think my grandmother knows how to coddle anything. But yeah, so their dynamic wasn't that, because my grandfather really wasn't into church. I don't even think he believed in God. It was just, you know, he took me there because I couldn't escape yet. But yeah. Aw. Thank you. I mean, I try because I feel like I need a bright shining light sometimes, and I know that other people need that bright shining light. So I'm like, let me just give a little bit of bright shining light to some people. And you know, even though we're having fun with my lecture series and we're learning a lot, it's still heavy content, you know, at times. It's not easy, you know, to go through history and know and think about all the atrocities that have happened, and stuff. So, yeah, I at least, you know, break that up with other, you know, gaming streams and things that are a little bit more vibey and cozy, just to give us all a break from those real life personal, you know, burdens and things that we have going on, and stress, because this whole community has had stress, and I've had my own personal stress going on with, a lot about it, the Percy stuff, because that's been stressful, but there's lots of other things, my health, lots. So I'm just trying my best to keep myself together so I can show up for you guys, and I'm here. I showed up. I did the thing. I was even about to be like, you know what? I'm just gonna not do a stream tonight. I'm just not feeling good. But when you guys show up in here, then I start to feel a little bit better. Like, even though I'm feeling a little under the weather, like physically, like, you brighten my day, like when you show up and actually interact with me. So I thank you. And even if you can't come into the lives, you can always leave me a comment. You can email me. Oh, I hear you. So you didn't really like grow up in the church. You just went to a middle school that was Baptist. Yeah, like in high school, this is really weird coming from my family because we're an Irish family. So I was given whiskey when I was younger, but I guess there's a difference between sneaking it from the cabinet and like getting a spoonful from the adults in the room. But anyway, I was 14 and me and my cousin, snuck a little like alcohol. We didn't get drunk or anything. And my grandmother was like, to the gallows with you, and the one thing that got her, like, I begged for this. I begged. Please don't send me to these other schools. And like in my research fashion, I researched the schools that she wanted to send me to, the troubled teen industry, the Christian schools, the Seventh-day Adventist, Mormon school, I was like, none of these have theater, and or sports. And you've always been pushing me to stay in softball and to do theater. Do you want me to not do that anymore? Basically guilt tripping her, but in a, literal autistic begging, please don't send me away kind of way. And then she didn't, but it was threatened. Mom spoke in tongues. Yeah, I've been to a couple of those churches. My church, the Southern Baptist churches that I had gone to, really, it was just like fire and brimstone, yell at you from the pulpit. But everybody else had to be like silent. You watch art, science, mental health. Yeah, I love watching crafts and DIY stuff. One of my favorite creators is this girl named Rachel Maxey. It's like M-A, like a mask, but with an S-Y-S-K-Y at the end, I think. Maxey, something like that. She's a redhead and does a lot of vintage stuff. And she does a lot of like spooky. She did like her spooky series for Halloween is usually Halloween, but make it vintage. And her Beetlejuice look for this year was absolutely amazing. Let me show you just real fast what her channel looks like. So that Rachel, Maksy, that's what it is, Maxey. At least that's how I think you pronounce it. But yeah, so like, look, turn herself into Nosferatu, haunted 10 types. Like, she does a lot of crafts, not just cosplaying, but like literally, like her Beetlejuice looks so good. She'll show you like different types of rollers, like vintagey things. She makes armor and all sorts of crafts. Yeah, I really like watching people DIY stuff. It's very calming. And she's also hilarious. But you grew up in too many churches. Yeah, eventually my grandmother picked a different church because there was like some drama and controversy within the church I grew up in. See, I was with my church from the age of 3. I grew up in the same church. And I had because I have a hard time with change. I went to my grandmother's church when she broke away, and I didn't really like it. Plus, there was a lot of old people, and I was like, there's too many old people here. It's not fun enough. Because by that point, we had early mornings praise team services, which is, come in casual clothes. We have a rock band. And me and my friends were in it. And then I did choir for the regular service. I also helped with Bible school, helped with the children. Like when I say I grew up in the church, like I was active in my church. And because they knew of my like issues with my parents and all that, I think they really wanted to like, I guess, take care of me and mold me. And so, yeah, I just stayed there until age of 24. And then I skedaddled and was like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, you suck. But anyway, yeah, I would love to have more talks with you, Tampa B-Man and Miss Sunrise Dawn. If you're still here, always like reach out if you need me.
In South Asia, said this about an interaction he observed between a Hindu man and a Muslim man. The dark, slender, and timid Hindu shrank from a conflict with the strong muscle and resolute spirit of the fair race.
Yeah, and the way they used to talk about people
to dehumanize South Asians served to justify the colonizers' domination of the colonized. Macaulay also said this about Bengalis. Whatever the Bengali does, he does languidly. His favorite pursuits are sedentary. He shrinks from bodily exertion. And though voluble in dispute and singularly pertinacious in the war of chicane, he seldom engages in personal conflict and scarcely ever enlists as a soldier. There never, perhaps, existed a people
were they allowed?
So thoroughly fitted by habit.
I didn't think they were allowed. I don't know.
The British journalist and writer George Warrington Stevens described Bengalis like this.
Or are they talking about?
I
don't know what they're talking about there.
The Bengali. The Bengali's leg is either skin and bone, the same size all the way down, with knobs for knees, or else it is very fat and globular, also turning in at the knees, with round thighs like a woman's. The Bengali.
Like, it sounds so gross to hear people talk about others like this because what we know now, but it makes sense to me why humans did this, especially like to, to other races, because when you've only seen one color your whole life and then you go and you see another human but looks very different from the typical that you're used to or yourself, you're like, huh, are you a human? Are you like me? Or are you very different species? Because we didn't know anything. But also some things I feel like that should have been common sense just really wasn't. Like, again, then I just think back to how stupid we used to be in our brains, and I don't know. Just it makes sense to me why they acted like this. It does not make sense to me why people still act like this.
Ali's leg is a leg of a slave.
No, burlesque in church. I just
Representing
saw that.
South Asian men as effeminate and slavish provided the British with a rationale for domination. Feminization and dehumanization went hand in hand as the British extended their colonial rule across the subcontinent and its indigenous populations. The status of South Asian women also came under the colonial gaze. In some Hindu communities, a woman whose husband died would sacrifice herself on his funeral pyre, burning to death along with his deceased body.
No worries.
The practice, called sati, was opposed by
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Appreciate you stopping in. And again, don't be afraid to reach out if you are struggling, okay? All right. Love you.
British Christian evangelists. By the 19th century, the British colonial government passed laws declaring sati a criminal act, punishable by criminal courts. The British also passed laws to prevent female infanticide, which refers to the murder of female infants, and child marriage, which refers to the practice of allowing girls under the age of 12 to marry.
That hurts my heart to hear.
Asian reformers also opposed sati, female infanticide, and child marriage. British opposition to these practices found its rationale in the civilizing mission central to European colonialism.
Yes, Blobley. Yes, that is a very weird way of describing a human being, but yeah.
According to the British, Europeans were bringing to South Asians the value of Western civilization and saving them from their own barbarism. Enforcing the gender binary was another aspect of the colonial project. The British used colonial law in South Asia to criminalize gender non-conforming populations like the Hijiras. Hijiras are an indigenous third gender population that has a long history in South Asian culture. Some Hijiras are intersex, others are transgender, and some are eunuchs. A eunuch is a person assigned male at birth who's been castrated to serve a specific social function. As I mentioned earlier in the quarter, Hijiras have a prescribed place in the South Asian social order and are often connected with sacred rites of passage.
Yep.
Traditionally, they served as singers and dancers in the courts of both Hindu and Muslim royalty. In contemporary South Asia, Hijiras are associated with fertility and often perform dances, songs, and blessings at births and weddings. During the colonial era, British officials saw Hijiras as disorderly and ungovernable. British judges described Hijiras as cross-dressers, beggars, and unnatural prostitutes who were addicted to sex with men. Colonial officials said Hijiras were not only a danger to public morals, but also a threat to colonial political authority. Colonial law armed the police with the power to surveil the Hijra community. Hijras were prohibited from wearing feminine clothing and jewelry and performing in public. They were threatened with fines or thrown into prison if they didn't comply. Police would even cut off their long hair and strip them if they wore female-identified clothing and ornaments.
No.
The community reacted by petitioning for the right to dance in public and perform at fairs. Colonial
Kind of
authorities
sounds like
also
what's
took
happening
children
right now in the
away
United
from
States with
hijras,
drag queens.
even when those children were adopted or the children of widows who were living with hijras. British officials saw the children as agents of contagion and a source of moral danger. Although British colonialism sought to erase the hijra community, the community resisted. Following independence, hijras became more politically organized. Decades of political activism by hijras and their allies led to a 2014 Indian Supreme Court decision officially recognizing a third gender, which includes hijras as well as some transgender people. It is the right of every human being to choose their gender, the court said, in recognizing the rights of those who identify themselves as neither male nor female. In enforcing the gender binary, European colonialism also enforced heteronormativity. While pre-colonial cultures didn't recognize LGBTQ+ identities by the same terms we use today, there's evidence of same-gender relations and gender-diverse identities being given space for expression in pre-colonial Asia, Africa, the Americas, and the South Pacific. Colonial regimes often established laws criminalizing same-gender sexual relations. The British were the most zealous about outlawing consensual gay sex in the colonies. The British considered non-Western peoples overly erotic and overly sexed and worried that Indigenous people would corrupt British colonial officers.
Oh my gosh.
These homophobic laws stayed in effect even after former colonies gained independence. Of the roughly 70 countries around the world where same-gender sexual relations are illegal, more than half are former British colonies or protectorates. After India won independence from Britain in 1947, it continued to outlaw same-gender sexual activity. It wasn't until 2018, after decades of struggle by LGBTQ+ activists, that the Indian Supreme Court finally struck down Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code, which dated back to British colonial law. Section 377 criminalized same-gender sexual relations. When the Indian Supreme Court ruled Section 377 unconstitutional, it marked a huge victory for India's LGBTQ+ community. In issuing the 2018 ruling, Deepak Mishra, the Chief Justice of the Indian Supreme Court, said, "Respect for individual choice is the essence of liberty. This freedom can only be fulfilled when each of us realizes that the LGBT rights." Yashwinder Singh, an LGBTQ+ activist in India, said of the court ruling, "I'm feeling what most Indians must have felt at the time of independence. This is the dawn of freedom for me." That's it for the first lecture in Module 6, Gender and Globalization. Thanks for your attention.
Awesome. Let's take a little break because there's only one more lecture. And I might as well get through it tonight. Maybe even try and do the quiz if I feel up for it. Oh, so let me run through real fast with you what else was assigned to me in this module. Okay, so we're all the way down here. So yeah, the live I tried to do that got pulled down because I didn't realize the BBC was going to take down my stream in the middle of it. So the Clothes to Die For documentary. So you can just, it's on the dailymotion.com. So you can just type in BBC Clothes to Die For 2014. And it's only like an hour long. It goes through a really big collapse in a fast fashion Bangladesh company, like the building collapse. So there it is, dailymotion.com, BBC Clothes to Die For 2014. And then this, I can put the PDF. Oh, I guess I can't link the PDF. Can I? Yes, I can link the PDF. So hopefully this, no, that's not going to work. Shoot. Okay. So I wonder if you can actually look up just the title of this. Because I feel like if there's a PDF available to download, it should be for free somewhere. But I'm just going to type this in. Okay, that's probably not the full thing. That's just a preview. Shoot. Well, oh, did Time Magazine put it out there? I have no idea. Is this the whole thing? Well, anyway, I guess the Time Magazine put out a review of it, or like a synopsis or something. But this, do Muslim women really need saving, anthropological reflections on cultural relativism and its other, by Lila. Sorry, I can't even. I am going to butcher that name if I try to say it. Lila Abu Lugod. I want to always pronounce things as I see them, but I know that's not probably always correct. Well, it's definitely not always correct. What am I even thinking? Irish, Gaelic. You cannot just try and pronounce those consonants. But anyway, this is a really good thesis that was written up, which I didn't read all of yet, because unfortunately with my eyeballs and the way my dyslexia works, it is very hard on me to read the way this was scanned in. But that was the other article that we read. And then the optional texts were, there's an article from Stonewall, Europe's largest LGBTQ rights organization, about British colonialism and how it shaped sexuality in Africa. I'm going to put that in the chat. So there we go. And share this tab. So you see here, African sexuality and the legacy of imported homophobia. There is a video, a short video. Why does not paywall? I don't want to. Are you really not going to let me see this? Because, well, I'm not going to suggest something to you if there's going to be a freaking ad on the front that you can't get rid of. So never mind on that one. Let's see what's next. A labor union and women's rights organization, an article. the Garment Worker Program to Combat Gender-Based Violence. Posting that link in the chat. So what does that say? Lesotho? God, I cannot pronounce things for some reason. What is wrong with me? A worker-centered, precedent-setting program that targets gender-based violence and harassment in 4 Lesotho garment factories is now in effect for as many as 10,000 workers producing jeans for the global market. So that's another article that I have to read, or I don't have to. These are the optional texts, but I just like to put them out there in case anybody is interested. There is an article from The Guardian, Mapping Iran's Unrest, how Mahsa Amini's death led to nationwide protests. Oh yeah, I think I remember about this, a 22-year-old, yeah. She had breached Islamic dress code for women. So sad and sick that we can do this to people. I know, it's very little print. I'm just going through them real fast so that I can pop the links into the chat in case you want to go over them. And then the last one is something about the Paris Olympics. Oh, I don't know what this is, but it's on YouTube. Defying France's hijab ban on the road to the Paris Olympics. And this is 25 minutes long. That will be very interesting. Even though these are just optional, like I still sometimes like to read and watch these things. Oh, hi, Indigo's Ghost. Oh no. Yeah, I haven't seen you in like chat if you've been like chatting or anything. I'm sorry to hear that. I know that Oh Hell No had an issue like that a while ago and we couldn't figure out why one of her accounts was getting shadow banned. I'm like, I didn't ban you. I didn't do anything. She was still a mod. Like, not sure why it didn't work. All right, so let me get into this next lecture.
Colonialism, which I focused on in the first lecture in this module, is one practice of imperialism. Imperialism refers to any extension
Well, thank you
of a
for the
country's power and
resub.
influence beyond its borders, and
I
can include less
appreciate
direct
you.
forms of domination, such as political, economic, and cultural influences. The
Oh, do I? I
dynamics
don't
of
even have this
imperialism
the
over
way
the
I
last
want it.
500
Hold on.
years
There we
have
go.
shaped global inequality, constructing the divide between the global north and the global south, and fueling patterns of conflict and
Antic.
migration. For over 2 centuries, the United States has...
Welcome in. We're into the second of 2 lectures tonight. You can always watch on the replay crew. Thank you. At least I hope people are liking them and learning stuff. I've been hearing that a little bit here and there. A couple of you have been liking these streams. And I've liked other people's study streams before. I mean, it all depends on what I'm learning. And it's kind of cool to go through this with my audience because this speaks to a lot about of like who I am as a person as well, like part of minority groups and stuff. Oh, okay. No problem. Have a good sleep. hopefully I have a good sleep tonight and I go to bed early. I did kind of sleep in this morning, so hopefully it doesn't disrupt my going to bed.
Use political, economic, and cultural power to intervene in the affairs of other nations. Following its independence from Great Britain at the end of the 18th century, the US became its own imperial power, conquering indigenous lands and peoples
Yep.
throughout North America,
Conquering
and
lots of
extending
people.
its territorial reach to Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Guam, Samoa, and the Philippines. The Philippines won independence from US colonial rule in 1946, and the US incorporated Hawaii as a state in 1959. The US still has a neo-colonial relationship with Puerto Rico, Guam, and Samoa.
Wait, what about
Indigenous
Cuba?
nations, including those in Alaska and
Is
Hawaii,
Cuba not?
continue to
Wait,
struggle for
Cuba's
sovereignty and
independent.
recognition under US law. One of the ways
I know we had a
the
foothold
US
in
and other
Cuba, but I
countries
don't
in the
know
global
much
north
about that
exert
history.
influence over countries and people in the global south is through economic domination. The picture on this slide shows McDonald's workers in the Philippines. McDonald's is an American fast food company that was founded in 1940 and is headquartered in Chicago, Illinois. McDonald's is the largest global restaurant chain in terms of profits, operating over 38,000 sites in more than 100 countries.
Jeez,
When a McDonald's appears in a
that's a
community,
lot.
it exerts the power of a global franchise with the backing of global finance capital, driving out local competition and bringing workers under the regime of global capitalism.
Wonder if any other fast
In this
food
way,
chain
McDonald's
has that much of a
transformed
foothold
local
on the world.
economies and cultures,
I only know of
changing
McDonald's
how
having that
people
much
around
of
the
a
world
foothold.
work and consume in a relatively short period of time. The fast food industry is only one industry that reflects the global reach of capitalism, exploiting workers and reconfiguring consumer demand in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the South Pacific to benefit brands and companies headquartered in Europe and North America. Another industry exacerbating global inequality is fast fashion. Fast fashion is a profitable sector of the fashion industry that encourages companies to sell high volumes of cheap clothing to consumers in response to rapidly changing trends. Retailers like ASOS and Shein offer thousands of new styles a week at low prices.
Yeah, it's crazy at how
Fashion
that kind of
hasn't
fast
always
fashion
been this
works.
fast.
Not a
Historically, the
season, it's like
fashion
every
industry
few
has worked
weeks.
on a
It's just
seasonal
crazy.
cycle, producing clothes in spring, summer, fall, and winter, when designers showcase new clothing models. In the 1990s, the clothing company Zara, then others, abandoned the concept of fashion seasons. They began producing cheaper versions of designer clothes at a faster pace, creating constant consumer demand for novelty. But the production methods of fast fashion aren't sustainable or humane. When it comes to the natural environment, the rise in fast fashion has contributed to massive levels of textile waste, pollution, and the depletion of natural resources. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has calculated the fashion industry produces 10% of global carbon dioxide emissions every year. Fast fashion has also been linked to unsafe working conditions and the abuse of workers in the global south. While clothes are often designed in the US or Europe for consumers in the global north, they're largely produced in the global south, with the majority of the world's factories in China, Bangladesh, Vietnam, India, Hong Kong, Turkey, and Indonesia. Factories that export garments and textiles to international apparel brands are also increasing in Kenya, Lesotho, Mauritius, and
Lesotho,
Ethiopia.
okay, I did say it kind of right.
Some 80% of
Good to
garment
know.
workers
Good to
are
know.
women and face disproportionate rates of sexual harassment and violence at work. A 2019 study of female factory workers producing clothing and shoes in Vietnam found that 43% of the 763 women interviewed had suffered at least one form of violence and or harassment in the previous year. The abuse these women workers faced ranged from groping and slapping to rape and threats of contract termination. Despite promises from clothing companies to deliver living wages to workers, low pay remains widespread as companies prioritize profits over human rights. Here you can see garment workers in Bangladesh at a factory that makes jeans. Bangladesh is a South Asian country that borders India on the east. As part of British India, Bangladesh was under British colonialism for 200 years. Today, an average garment worker in Bangladesh earns the country's minimum wage of 8,000 taka a month, which is about 74 US dollars. Bangladeshi garment workers and labor unions are calling for the government to triple the minimum wage to ensure that workers and their families can meet their basic needs like food, shelter, healthcare, and education.
But they don't like
The first
have a
text
setup
I've
for
assigned in this
offering
module
healthcare.
is a documentary film directed by Zara Hayes called Clothes to Die For. It looks at the collapse of the Rana Plaza building in Bangladesh, which killed more than 1,000 people in 2013. The building contained clothing factories, a bank, apartments, and some shops. Most of the people who died were female garment workers. Among survivors, more than half remained unemployed because of physical injuries and psychological trauma. The Rana Plaza collapse is considered the worst industrial disaster in the 21st century. I included a content warning about the film because it depicts death and dying and may be distressing to viewers. The most graphic portion runs from minutes 28 to 44, which you should consider skipping over. I've incorporated the film in our course this quarter because it exposes the human and gendered toll of the fast fashion industry. As demand for fast and cheap fashion in the global north has increased over the past 3 decades, working class women in the global south, particularly those from rural areas, pay the greatest price. The film also reveals how capitalism is a globalized system that links consumer demand in one part of the world to worker exploitation in another, all the while enriching a small elite that owns and profits from the means of production. Global capitalism and its hyper-exploitation of working class people in the global south is only one of the legacies of colonialism. Another legacy is military intervention and war. Militarism has played an important role in the expansion of imperialism. Militarism refers to the belief or desire of a government or people that a country should maintain a strong military capability and be prepared to use it aggressively to defend or promote national interests. Many countries in the global north maintain a military presence in countries in the global south. Russia, the UK, and France are among these countries. But the United States stands out in
All
the
right, have
community
a
of
good
nation states as the
night.
country with the largest
It's
military
good to see
presence
you.
abroad. The War on Terror, an international military campaign launched by the United States government after the September 11th terrorist attacks, has enabled the US military to expand its reach. This map, compiled by scholars at Brown University's Cost of War project, shows that the US is actively engaged in countering terrorism in 80 nations on 6 continents.
Woo,
The
woo, go
Stimson
us.
Center, a nonpartisan Washington, D.C. based think tank researching issues of global security, estimates that as of March 2021, over 170,000 active duty US military personnel are stationed outside the United States and its territories. This is the largest active troop presence abroad of any country in the world. For 2 decades, the US deployed troops to Afghanistan as part of the War on Terror. The US war in Afghanistan is the longest war in US history. It started in 2001 and officially ended in August 2021. The US Department of Defense estimates that more than 800,000 US soldiers served in the war. While no US troops remain on the ground today, President Joe Biden has said the US military will continue to conduct air missions from a vast network of US bases around the region. The second text I've assigned in this module explores US militarism through a gendered lens, examining the US war in Afghanistan and how it was framed as an effort to save Afghan women from Taliban rule. In the article, Do Muslim Women Really Need Saving? Anthropologist Leila Abu-Lughod considers the relationship between Western feminism and the US
Yep.
war on terror.
You were correct.
The article was published
Indigo.
in
It was
September
a
2002
huge
in
story.
the academic journal American Anthropologist. In the article, Abu-Lughod encourages her readers to think critically about how the war on terror depicts Muslim women. She refers to a speech given by First Lady Laura Bush in November 2001, a little over a month after her husband commanded the invasion of Afghanistan. In a weekly radio address normally delivered by the president, the First Lady spoke to the American people about the oppression of Afghan women by the Taliban. Good morning. I'm Laura Bush, the First Lady said, and I am delivering this week's radio address to kick off a worldwide effort to focus on the brutality against women and children by the Al-Qaeda terrorist network and the regime it supports in Afghanistan, the Taliban. That regime is now in retreat across much of the country, and the people of Afghanistan, especially women, are rejoicing. Afghan women know through hard experience what the rest of the world is discovering. The brutal oppression of women is a central goal of the terrorists. Abu-Lughod is critical of Bush's use of Muslim women as justification for war and military occupation. She sees the desire to save non-Western women as a form of colonial feminism. Abu-Lughod turns her attention to Western women's obsession with the Islamic practice of veiling. She writes, not only are there many forms of covering, which themselves have different meanings in the communities in which they are used, but also veiling itself must not be confused with or made to stand for lack of agency. Agency refers to the capacity of individuals to act independently and to make their own free choices. Abu-Lughod suggests that in the West, the Islamic practice of veiling is seen as a symbol of women's oppression, whereas in the Muslim world, it is often a symbol of women's agency. Through veiling, Muslim women show their social standing and membership in particular communities. They also demonstrate their piety, their closeness to God. Abu-Lughod recognizes that Western women might not like the choices Muslim women are making. In the same way, Muslim women might not like the choices Western women make. Feminism isn't about what we end up choosing. It's about having choices. Desire is conditioned by culture. In other words, the cultures we grow up in shape what we want and what we choose, Abu-Lughod writes. Might other desires be more
I mean, that's true. But also, I feel like sometimes we do things in society that we think are for the betterment or think are our choices that really aren't, if that makes sense. Or they come to realize that they don't want those same choices that previous people have chosen. it kind of brings me back to when, the cliche, well, back in my day, I mean, I hear it in real life from people, like, the way that they frame things is like, well, I had to suffer for this, so therefore you should suffer the same way I did, because it's not fair if you have a better life than I did, kind of sentiment. And that comes from like internalizing your shit. I mean, it's why, like, when I try and talk to people about spanking their kids and how it can be abusive, they want to immediately get defensive and be like, well, I was spanked and I'm fine. Or how else do you teach discipline? I'm like, we can't just go off of just because of the way that things were, things should stay. And we should do a little bit more forethought and research into ideas and things, and be like, and be okay to question those things. I mean, I've always questioned things. It's just the way I am. Maybe that's the autism, maybe it's me, maybe it's both, but it's just, it's me. I mean, the autism is me, but you know what I mean. Like, I just hardly ever could take anything at like face value, because I'm like, but I have questions. Why should I? Like, why are the rules like this? Why is it this way? Especially if I can envision like it, like I would do something differently, or where I think something is more efficient, I will question those things. I'll be like, well, why are you doing it like this? Why are the things like this? Because it doesn't make any sense. We should be doing it like this because this is more efficient. Like, you know what I mean? Anyway.
Meaningful for different groups of people, living in close families, living in a godly way, living without war. Different people might want or choose different futures from what we might choose for ourselves. Abu Lughod argues that global feminism should make space for these different culturally conditioned desires. At the same time, she doesn't think we should.
Also, I would say I will push back on culture and tradition sometimes, because if I feel like something is harmful, I'm sorry. Like, why does it need to be tradition? Why? Maybe your culture sucks. I don't know. Like, I'm sorry, but sometimes I feel like we go too easy on people. And if you clearly can see something like being harmful, it's like, maybe we should change the traditions then, so it's not so harmful. Maybe this culture is too toxic and we need to reshape the culture. It is okay to change. It is okay to change more than once in your lifetime. I, in fact, encourage it. We should not be stagnant, sterile people our entire lives. Things should not stay the same all the time. As much as I do say, oh my God, I hate change, because from my autistic brain, certain changes are like, I can't deal with this. But I do, in having the life that I have led for in the things that have happened to me and the things that I've questioned growing up, I've realized that it is okay for things to change, and we shouldn't accept things be the same all the time. That's why I get upset when people do, like, they'll do something to their body or change up their look, or I don't know. And then, you have people around you like, why did you do this change? And then when you want to change your mind down the road, they're like, we just got used to this change. Like, why are you changing in? And then people start to question if you make good choices because you don't stick to one thing all the time or forever. Like, I just don't think we should. Like, I've had many different chapters of my life, reinvented myself many times. And that comes with, also discovering things about yourself and going, so this thing that I've been doing, I don't actually need to do that. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to do it like this for a while and see how I feel. Because life is about trying things. And so when it comes to identity, don't freak out when a kid wants to wear opposite gender clothes. I'm sorry, clothes having gender is stupid. Look at how boys were always in dresses prior to the developing industrialization. Literally. You were in as children, you were always in dresses no matter what you were, to a certain age. And then they're called when you're breeched. That means when you put on your pants for the first time. Come on. Just let people explore their gender and explore their identity. And maybe, because that's what we need to do in order to find the things that suit us and that we like and that we don't like. Maybe it is okay to kiss someone that is of the same as you, not knowing if you would like it or not. That is okay. And you can make that decision if you want to continue doing that or not after you do it. And that is perfectly fine. It is okay to try things. It is okay to explore and experiment. Don't toy with people when you're experimenting. Say up front, hey, I don't know if I'm into this. I'm just exploring with some things. And it's not just about who you want to date, but your identity. If you're a man, you want to start trying on dresses, hey, just say, hey, this may not be permanent. I have no idea, but these are the thoughts that I'm having and I want to try this. Please respect me while I go through this. Who knows what I like? So I just think we should always be giving people grace and the room to discover themselves and discover what they like and don't like and who they want to be. And that it's okay that we change who we even are as people, throughout our lives. Some things change you as fundamentally as a human being, and you may never be the same again anyway. That prior version of yourself ceases to exist after some monumentous change. It could be anything, especially if it's trauma related. You may never have the same personality again. If you all of a sudden have an accident, you become paralyzed, or you lose your parents. There are always, I think us at the core could be consistent, but it's I think of it like a seed, and there's things around it, layers around it. And those layers can change and peel off and then rebuild, and things will evolve and shift and change. Anyway, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. We are almost done here.
Accept gender-based oppression. We should still ask how we, living in this privileged and powerful part of the world, might examine our own responsibilities for the situations in which others in distant places have found themselves. We should examine our own country's practices of militarism and economic domination, and resist the ways they contribute to oppression and inequality around the world. That's it for the second and final lecture in Module 6, Gender and Globalization.
Yay!
Thanks for your attention to the
Yay. And I thank you all very much for sitting here and listening and learning with me, because it's always fun, even though I know a lot of this stuff because I've researched it on my own over the years, being who I am, being non-binary, being bisexual, pansexual, learning about my autism, my specific autism, doing all this kind of stuff. It's it's always a work in progress, right? Always like learning. And I've changed my career many times. Like I've gone through many different types of phases in my life. But you know, certain things have always been there. And then with time, language changes, culture shifts, you shift, you know, aging, all kinds of things happening. You come into that core identity. And I think for me, I've always had this little nugget that has always been me at the core. And I've definitely, you know, I think of it more of like a half and half shell. Like I've always been like sort of consistent, you know, autistic Mandy over here. And then you have, you know, all of the other things over here that shift and change in my life, depending on where I'm at in therapy, what I've learned about trauma, like what I've learned about my own trauma, like, and those pieces get shifted and peeled away and remolded and rebuilt. And, you know, so for me, you know, and maybe someone is like, thinks of themselves differently. This is how I visualize the pieces of myself. And I think over time, even with the core section of myself, that even gets split up into pieces depending on like the trauma I've gone through, the different types or the different phases I've gone through, you know, the pitfalls, the ups and downs, and just like, you know, learning how to pick myself up again, because at my core, I know who I am, and I need to, you know, make sure I continue to show up for myself in order to show it, like I said before many times, in order to show up for other people. And so the more that I've learned about myself, it has informed how I interact with the world around me, and especially with other traumatized people, you know? So thank you all for being here. I gotta go take my medicine. I need to check on my kitties. See if Percy's still mad at me. I don't know. Yeah. And I will speak to you all soon. Please stay safe and stay hydrated, and hug someone you love today. Bye.